In the last episode, we built this adorable church and graveyard up on a hill right at the edge of Fontbrock. In today's episode, we're going to be trying to tackle a bunch of requests from our townsfolk. We're building this perfect little schoolhouse right on the edge of our artisan district. We're expanding our farming with another farmhouse and a lettuce field. We're finally providing some services for that one part of town that's been complaining about no services for quite a while. And we're once again working on the labor shortage alongside the mandatory park expansions. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Town to City. There are over 400 people that live in Fontbrock now, which means that we are no longer just a town, but we are, in fact, a city. And for basically the entire time that Fontbrock has existed, I've kind of been ignoring what my townsfolk actually want. I've not been paying attention to any of their requests, so I figure that today we can put a bit of a dent in the long list of requests that I'm sure they have. Starting with Malik, who says, I've been experimenting to create different colored geese on my farm. You're not harming the animals, are you? Don't worry, it's a dye bath made from grapes and fruits. My geese love it. I'd like to give you the honor of choosing the color for my finest goose. I promise I won't influence your decision in any way. Okay. Let's make them blue. No. That's a primary color. That would just, no. Okay, in that case, turquoise? Maybe I've not been making myself clear. I'll let you choose a color, but I'd like it to be pink. Okay, pink it is. Pink it is! Fantastic. I'll prepare the dye bath. Could you find the perfect new owner for this fine specimen? Okay, this is not what I was expecting the requests to be. But sure, I can find an owner for a pink goose called Jean-Louis, which is fine. I'm sure we have some people, and we absolutely do, that happen to want a pink goose, or a pet goose at the very least, maybe not expecting a pink one. We'll give it to these guys, since that seems perfectly fine, and just like that, I think we're good. I have got a small confession to make. I had my heart set on pink before I even asked you to choose the colour. Really? But just look at how nice it came out. All geese should be pink. Okay, we got 200 farm points from that, which actually kind of reminds me that we haven't looked at research in a while, and I'm sort of considering the idea that maybe we do want to get some tomatoes in here, maybe we want to get some lettuce in here. I think we're going to unlock both of those, which does give us access to the pub, which is very exciting. Definitely looking forward to building that somewhere along the way. And I guess that means that the next thing we do with farming is go for tier 4, which means milk and pumpkins. Milk probably means cows, which is great. That gives us some pastries, which I'm very much looking forward to. We get lavender, we get medicinal herbs, we get flower automation. Don't know what that means. I think that's actually a monument type thing. We have global farming that lets me access farms and the farm research menu in all cities, which means that if and when we go back, I say if, when we go back to Bellevue, we can do farming back there, which I very much want to do. And we get the house style exchange, which lets you use the Bellevue house styles in Fontbrock and vice versa. That's kind of a big deal, and that's something I'm super excited about. But I'm also thinking, since we don't have any requests right now, it might be time to come into this space up here and start figuring out where exactly we're going to place a school. Because if we go into the regular research menu, I think we already have it, don't we? Yeah, we do. We already have the school, which is fantastic news. We could get the autumn nature decorations, which I'm slightly tempted by. I'm not gonna lie, I do like the idea of the mushroom patches especially could be kind of fun. I think just because I can, I'm gonna grab those just for the mushroom patches, and we'll deal with all of that in just a little bit, because in this entire space, I want to build the school, I want to build a little playground behind the school, I want to make this place really cozy and really adorable. So the school itself, I think, is going to live somewhere like right about, say, let's see if I can get these corners to line up nicely. I'm going to say right about there for the school itself. And then in front of this, I sort of want to use the plaza because we haven't really used it all that much. And I do want this little path to feel a little bit fancy, but also a little bit different to the paths that we have over this way. So I think a 2.5, maybe even a size 2 would be enough for this because this is supposed to be just a little bit of a ways away from that main road. It's supposed to be a little side road. And I guess what we'll do is start right about here. And we're going to bring this, that's freeforming. That is not at all what I want to do. We'll bring this through with a line tool. And because of the angles that we're working with here, it should line up relatively perfectly. It does look like the school is chopping away at it just ever so slightly, which I don't love. So what we'll do is we'll grab the school and we'll just move it back. In fact, we'll say that number 1, we don't want to snap, and number 2, we don't want to create curves. And then we'll get this thing, I want to say about there, should be pretty good for the school. And I'm also wondering, can I go right up to the door with this? I totally can, which I think looks great. I do really like that. I think that's kind of a cool look for the whole thing. And then what I'd like to do here is maybe just a little bit of a straight line, just like this. And we'll turn that into just a little curve right on that corner using the circle brush right here. We'll come around and hopefully get something that looks halfway decent, which I think that sort of does. I think that's not too bad. I do think that maybe we want to go in and just take out a little bit more of this path here because I don't think it looks all that great. So now we'll give this another shot. We'll bring this around like so. And does that look a little bit better? I think it does. I like that a lot. I do. And I'm really excited to decorate this space. I was also thinking that maybe this road back here could have a bunch of houses on it so that we don't just have the school in here and that this entire block doesn't end up just being decorative. So I think the way I'm going to try and do this, oh, there's all the new decorations, which is great. I would really love to get my hands on a hedge, a tall hedge that's not autumnal. That would be kind of great. Do we have that? I'm sure that's a tall hedge, which we get from requests, which is kind of frustrating, but that's okay. I think the way we'll do this is by going in here with this tall metal fence. And I think what we're going to do is go right about here. So we'll line it up with that corner, and we want to just go straight across this entire chunk of land. We'll not go the whole way across. We'll go to about there, and then we'll continue to right about there. And that's going to be the back wall that sort of divides the schoolyard from whatever I build in this space, which is going to be absolutely perfect. What we can also do is come straight down here. And I'm kind of hoping I can get this to look pretty good. I'm kind of hoping that maybe we go about halfway and then to about here. And that's going to be the side wall for the school as well. And I suppose over this way, we can try to do some kind of little curve that just comes around here. And I think that right about there looks pretty solid. It's not perfect, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, as we've stated 100 times so far. We'll go to about there with this one and just move you back ever so slightly so that it all kind of lines up the way I'd like it to. That doesn't look quite as good as it did, but I think it's fine. I don't think we need an absolutely huge schoolyard here either. I do think I need to keep that in mind, that this place probably doesn't need to be absolutely enormous. I would like to try my best to get this corner to look halfway decent. So we'll go to about there, and we'll bring this over to, honestly, about there should be completely fine. A little bit of a tighter corner there. I don't necessarily love it, but I think it's okay. I have an idea for what we're going to do with this this sort of back area in just a second. Because for one, I do think we should go in and just put a bunch of grass back here. We'll keep dithering on so it sort of feathers everything out a little bit. We'll do the same thing up here as well, just to sort of feather some of that dirt away. And then what we can do is go back into our roads. We can get a little dirt road, a little square brush, and maybe down to a size 1. And what I'm thinking is that we just try our best to bring a little road all the way back here. Now, unfortunately, oh no, we can make this happen. We're going to go to, I'm going to say about here. We are dealing with a little bit of a hill, but that's okay. We'll do the same thing over on this side as well, which I guess is going to mean, let's see, how close are we to that wall? We're one little tile away. So we'll go here and we'll just bring this all the way back, which is a little bit further out from this wall on this side, but that's not necessarily the end of the world. And I think we just bring this straight across, which, oh, look at that. Lines up perfectly. You love to see it. We'll just chop out some of this corner as well so it looks a little bit less perfect. We'll do the same thing over on this side so it looks a little bit less perfect. And we'll just add maybe, let's see, a slightly smaller brush. I want to just add a little bit of a node, just a little bit in that corner and a little bit right there as well. So it just looks a little bit more rounded than it otherwise would. And wouldn't you know that while I'm working on the school, we have another request in here. Let's see what this is going to be all about. We have Valerian. Okay. Hey, Mayor, don't you just love that wonderful bread smell? And I mean, fresh bread. The freshest bread. There is nothing better. If only Mom would bake us some every morning, but I guess that's never going to happen. Could you do something about this? You really want me to... Oh, you just want to move to be close to a bakery. Oh, I can do that. I can... I can absolutely do that. I don't know which family I need to move here. We're looking for... Who are we looking for here? You. So I need to move this family needs to move over towards a bakery. Okay. That is doable. That is possible. That is something we can probably achieve. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade this house. I'm going to upgrade this house. Now, I don't love how that looks, but it does mean that I can go in here, I can grab these guys, and I can move them into this house right about here. And I think that makes them just that little bit happier, which is absolutely fantastic news. Every time I go outside, it's like I'm stepping into a loaf of freshly baked bread. I love it. Okay. So that's money. That's not really what I was looking for. I was kind of hoping we would get our hands on literally anything else, but sure, that's fine. That's totally okay. Also not sure why we suddenly have some extra workers available. That's something, I suppose. Let's put them in the school. Let's get a couple of people working up here, and that'll be fine. I'm sure I am now going to be missing workers, in here apparently, but we'll not worry too much about that. We don't need to worry too much about that. Let's go ahead and open the station, and we can bring some people in to deal with this market over here, and of course deal with the fact that we do have to get people into the school to work as well. Now, speaking of this, I do want to make a point of getting a couple of specific decorations in here, and I'm thinking that one of those is, of course, going to be the wooden slide, and I sort of want to line it up with the terrain, just a little something like this, because I can. And I want to do hopscotch as well, which I think is going to go maybe just there is completely fine for hopscotch. We can kind of do both of them in that space. And I'm also thinking that since this is a school, we might want it to be a little bit more private back here. So maybe it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to put a little hedge along the inside of this fence. It would also potentially stop kids from approaching the fence and, well, climbing it. I know, as I've said before, I was once a child. I would have probably done that. I wasn't the most, I say stuff like that and I realize it makes it sound like I was a nightmare. I was just this might surprise you. This might come as a shock, but I was and remain something of a nerd myself. So, I wasn't necessarily out there being devious and mischievous. I was the nerdy kid in the playground pretending he was a Jedi. That was me. I was not a popular child. I was not a popular child. I was the one that was like, man, I think the Force might be real. Pretty sure if I sit here for 10 minutes and hold my arm out at that door, I can open it. And, well, I'll tell you something, viewer. I didn't. There was one of my teachers had a really great joke, which I didn't appreciate at the time. I'm going to be honest. At the time I took it, I felt it was a little mean, because, as the nerdy kid kind of getting picked on for my interests was very common. I'm not trying to make this a sob story. It's just the truth. And yeah, so basically it was like sports day or something like that. Every year there was a big sports day, and you had like long jump and all these different, sports, right? It was sports. That's how it works. Anyway, we were doing the long jump, and it was my turn to go up. And as I step up to the line, my teacher, because again, keep in mind, when I say that I was the kid in the playground pretending he was a Jedi, I'm talking that me and like one other kid had like made lightsabers out of rolls of paper and like cardboard tubes that were used for just stuff around the classrooms. So like we were out there just beating the snot out of each other on the regular. And at first there was like I vividly remember there was a conversation of like, you two are like playing, right? Because we were really we weren't very good at dodging lightsabers. And no, we were like, yeah, no, we're being Jedi. And so this went on for a while. This was 2000 and this was 2005. This was my last year in like primary school. I was maybe a little bit too old to be playing with. I wasn't too old to play with. You're never too old to play with lightsabers. My point being, it was a well-known thing that I was like really into Star Wars. So much so that I'm going to get to my point here eventually, but there's so many reasons that everyone knew I was really into Star Wars. The lightsabers were one of them. Another one was that at this point in my life, I had decided to start experimenting with my hair. And by that, I mean, I grew my hair out and dyed it brown. I was very, very blonde as a kid. I dyed it brown so I would look like Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 3. Long story short, when I stepped up to the line on sports day to do the long jump, my teacher says that he is expecting me to run up and take off and clear the entire distance. And with hindsight, that's really funny. At the time, I wasn't happy about it. At the time, I felt a little bit like picked on. But I thought with hindsight, it's really funny. Because, for like Jedi, jumping, you got, if you know Star Wars, you know what I'm talking about. You know where that's coming from. I think with hindsight, I genuinely think that's really funny. It's also not the first time in my life that I've taken a joke like that the wrong way from a teacher. When I was in college, we were filming something that required me to dress up as the 10th Doctor from Doctor Who. Now, several years prior, I had commissioned and had made, I had someone make a replica of that character's suit from the show. And it was made to measure, like it was tailored, like it was a pretty nice suit. I still have it. I'm just too fat for it now. And yeah, there was something we were filming. I went to college for TV and film production. So there was something we were filming where it was decided that I was going to dress up as, not as the Doctor, not as the character, but just in the outfit. I think I was playing like a teacher or something like that. And we were all, really big fans of Doctor Who, and there's an episode of that series when that character was there where he's a teacher in a school, and we were like, oh, it'd be kind of funny as a little nod to that if you were dressed up as the character. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. So I brought the I brought the suit in. We filmed the bit, and later that day we had a regular class where one of my teachers referred to me as the Doctor. And just for some reason, it hit me just completely the wrong way. And like, I think we had lunch coming up. So lunch came up and I just like walked out, called my gran, and I was like, hey, I'm done. Can you pick me up? And there was something, I guess, in the tone of my voice that she was like, yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And yeah, it just became this whole thing. And I don't know why I took it the wrong way. Because again, with hindsight, it's like, yeah, I was dressed up as Doctor Who. Of course, someone joking like, oh, it's the Doctor. Of course they're going to do that. I do not know to this day why that sat wrong with me. I think it just was like a little flashback to, when I was younger and like people were like, oh, you like Star Wars, you know, that kind of stuff. I think it just took me back, and not in a good way, unfortunately. But that gets worse, that particular story, because I explained to my gran what had gone on, and she then explained to my granddad, my dad. I was raised by my grandparents. He, you know, I'll refer to him as my dad. She explained to him what happened, and he insisted on getting the phone number for the college, and he called them and insisted on speaking to the lecturers who were, now when I say college, I was like 20. I was like 20, maybe 21. I don't remember exactly what age I was, but I was too old to have my granddad like calling up the college to complain that the teachers are bullying me, because they weren't. But I didn't know that this phone call had happened. And that was a fun surprise when I went in, because I think it was like a Friday as well. So I went in on Monday, and one of the teachers sort of pulls me aside after one of the classes, and he's like, hey, so I got a phone call from your granddad. He was like, your dad or your granddad or whatever. And I was like, and he's like, did we say something? Because he's like, your granddad was going on and on about how, like, do we think it's what we said to you was acceptable and stuff like that. And my head went into my hands, and I was like, oh God. And I just explained, like, I apologize. I was like, it hit me the wrong way. It wasn't like there was nothing wrong with it. It was funny. For some reason, it just like hit me upside the head. And I guess my granddad thinks I'm being bullied by the lecturers in the college. So that's fun. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. It was I mean, I can't complain too much. Like, I felt very lucky to have, you know, him looking out for me in that way. It was still a little embarrassing. Again, especially as like a 21, 22-year-old. It's like, yeah, my granddad called my college lecturer to yell at him for bullying me. It was a little much is what it was. It was a little much, and it was a bit of a misunderstanding. Anyway, I think this school is really starting to come together, but something I want to do is get a couple of picnic tables back here. And I think I'm just going to have these lined up pretty well with the terrain. I think I'm just going to have them sort of like this, just so that there's space out here for people to sort of sit and eat their lunch. I think that's kind of just a nice little space there. I do really like this little bench just tucked away in those trees as well. I think that's pretty cool. And my hope with this space is that people do come out here and that they do end up using it. We do have some people in the schoolyard already, which is great news, but I don't think I'm going to do too much more with this right now, because I'm sure there's more stuff that we can unlock. I'm sure there's more stuff that we can put sort of around the school and make it look all better and interesting. But a little something I would like to do is just come along the front of it here. In fact, I think what I'm also going to do is put a lamppost on this corner, because I have seen a couple of comments mentioning that there are not enough lights in my city. And that's why I've done a couple here. We've got one above the door. We got one on either side of this place. We got one at the back door as well. I'm not putting lights in the yard because no one should really be in the schoolyard at night. That's not really necessary as far as I'm concerned. But I would like to get a little light just here as well, so that at the very least, the entrances to this path are nicely lit up. And then what we can do is we can start from this spot right about here, bring this down to right about here, and somehow, some way, I need to bring this around this corner in a way that's going to look good. And I'm not 100% sure that I can do that, but I'm going to certainly try. In fact, I think that right there is going to be about the perfect spot for it. And we should be able to just bring this over to this spot and then bring it right up to about there. And I think that looks good. I like that a lot. I really do. I'm slightly tempted to put some bushes around it, but honestly, I think it's fine as it is. I think that works. We can do some detailing in these spaces at some point. But what I'm thinking we could do with this space is actually go in here and build a farmer's residence. Now, I don't want to block the entire view of the school, which this thankfully isn't going to do. But what we can do with this is use this to get some of those new crops in here that we just unlocked. And then we can put the field just somewhere else is my thinking. So I think this farmer's residence, can I get it back from the road just a little bit? I think right about there is going to be a good spot for it. And like I said, it's not blocking the view of the school, which is the main thing that I want to avoid doing. And that's going to be the same thing within here. I want to get some foliage in here. I want to get some bushes and some plants and stuff in here. But I don't want to block the view of the school because I think the school looks really good. I'm also kind of wondering, can I do one of these plaza roads right up to the door of U? It actually looks like I can. And I can do it with the dirt as well. That's interesting. That's feels like something we haven't necessarily been able to do so far. But I think we'll use the plaza road right here. And I think we'll use the plaza road right here. And we'll do the same thing right here. And that looks pretty good to me. I think we'll maybe just stamp a little bit of the plaza into those corners as well. Just to sort of bring this whole thing together just a little bit. We'll actually go a little bit further in there as well, just to get rid of some of the grass that you can kind of see underneath the building. And I think that is pretty good. I think that kind of works. I do want to give this guy a yard. I do think it'd be kind of cool to maybe have this place with just a little fence kind of around it so that it looks, I don't know, it looks like he's got a backyard, right? It gives me something to fill this space up with that's not just same old. I mean, I have given many houses different backyards, but you get the idea. I think a little fence right there, we can curve it around, maybe sort of bring it around, maybe just straight up here actually would be the idea. In fact, I think right to there is going to be my idea. So it's not going to be much of a backyard, but it's going to be just about enough of a backyard, I think. Now, I don't know about you, but I actually really like how this has turned out. I think it's pretty solid. I like the little lantern up here just at the front of the house. Usually we tuck it into the porch, but I think having it on the front is definitely the right choice. And then for the rest of this place, I'm sort of thinking medium trees, or at least one medium tree, just in, I want to say, this spot here is going to be fine for that. Just the one medium tree should be enough. We can get maybe, I don't want to do a cypress tree because we have one just across the street there already. Maybe this little guy just in the back right there. And again, we're trying to avoid blocking the view of the school, so I want to be very, very careful with where I place all of these guys. But I do also want to try and get just a little bit more nature in here. So a couple of little bushes just here and there. And I think a couple little flower patches just here and there as well should help to make this place feel really, really nice. As for the front of this, though, do I want to do a fence? Does it need a fence along the front? I don't know that it necessarily does. It's kind of tempting, but I just don't know that it does. I think a nice big bush right there with maybe a couple of the little small ones just sort of around it a little bit, like that should be okay. And then for color, I think we go in with the multicolored flowers right here, just to change things up a little bit. Just get a little variety of colorful little spots in here. And there we go. We have all of this land around the schoolhouse nicely detailed. We have a bunch of flowers out here right on the cliff. And of course, we have this farmer's house as well, which does need a family to move into it. And we can do something about that in just a moment, because we do have another request down here, and I'm curious to see what this one's going to be about. Oh boy, what is your voice going to be? I was almost going to do the same one that I did before. Hey, what do you know about Lichen? I'm assuming. You know, Lichen. Those gorgeous, mysterious things you see growing on trees and rocks. What are they? Where do they come from? Hey, let me ask you some questions about Lichen. Sure, I have time for a quiz. That's the answer I was expecting. Right, let's dig into it. What actually is Lichen? It's a bit like fungi, right? You got that right. Sort of, but more than just that at the same time. Lichen are the result of two different life forms working together to survive. Can you guess which ones? Fungi and algae? You got it, friend. Fungi and algae sitting in a tree, working together for increased survivability. Lichen are hardy. They grow on substrates like wood or even rock. Do you think they could survive out there in space? You know, I bet they could. You know, I think you might be right on that one. What's your favorite type of lichen? 'Tis the season. Reindeer cup, definitely. Haha, can't argue with that. Excellent choice. Am I bothering you with these questions? Be honest with me now. Truth be told, it's kind of getting long in the tooth. I feel I overstepped some boundaries here. That's a real shame. I had hoped I'd found a fellow lichen enthusiast, but I see I was mistaken. Hey, why don't you take this rock to remember me by? It has some pretty special lichen on it. You'll love it. Okay, well, we got a rock, and we have to place it somewhere, which we can absolutely do. It's a big old rock as well. Good lord. Okay. I guess we could put it in the schoolyard somewhere? It seems that would be, kids will be climbing all over that though. That's absolutely not going in the schoolyard. It's going to go back here. I'm going to just sort of tuck it out of the way, right next to those trees is where I think that can go. Just, I'm never going to use that elsewhere, so that's completely fine. That's completely fine. Thank you. Now everyone can learn more about lichen. I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'm not going to pretend that I have any idea how to pronounce that, but you know what? That's fine. That's okay. Let me have a little bit of a look into research here. And I think, honestly, let's get tier 4 farming, which is, I mean, the farming point cap is increased to 1600. That's great. We have milk, we have pumpkins, we have lavender, medicinal herbs. We kind of saw all of this already, which is totally fine. I am very excited about global farming and the house style exchange as well. But I think, speaking of farming, we should probably get our hands on, what do we not have right now? I've already kind of forgotten. What did I unlock? It was tomatoes and lettuce that I think we're going to be looking for here. So let's have a look here. We have tomatoes there. We have lettuce right there. What does lettuce look like? Okay. And then tomatoes. Oh, I love that color. I love that color. Although, as good as it would be to kind of mess around, I say mess around, as good as it would be to build another farm, I'm very tempted to build a little wool farm, because what I could do with this, if I play my cards right, is potentially come in here and do something like this. And this was suggested in the comments of a video a couple of episodes ago. I think I mentioned this, but if we do this kind of thing, we just end up with random sheep sort of roaming around this little area in the park. And I kind of love that. I kind of really enjoy that we can just have a bunch of sheep running around in here. I think that's very cool. And I think it's really fun, honestly. I might want to be careful with how I do this. I think we might want to just sort of feather the edges a little bit so that we do keep some of that beautiful dirt texture in there so that the place still looks like it's a park. I think it's a little bit too perfect around those edges there. So we'll just sort of tidy all of that up a little bit. But doing something like this does give us a couple of sheep in this park. And it's silly. It is silly, but I kind of love it. I do. I kind of love it. I really do. And I think I might use this farm to just add some sheep to a couple of random spots around town. Like in here doesn't need sheep, right? There wouldn't really be sheep in here, but it'd be kind of funny if there were, like just one that lives in this park, or two, or however many. It's so dumb, and it's such a good idea. And I'm so disappointed that I didn't come up with this. But yeah, I think we're going to do a couple of sheep right there. I think we could do, honestly, some sheep back here could be kind of interesting as well, just to sort of fill out this space and give a little bit of little bit more movement to this area with some sheep in there. I think that's kind of interesting looking. And then I wonder, what kind of grass is this using? It looks like it's light grass, or is it just normal? I think it is the light. So if I hit this with a little bit of feathering around those edges, it kind of starts to blend it together, which I don't really mind. And it makes it look just a little bit more like it's kind of intentional that we have these weird patches of lighter grass. I like that a lot. I really do. I love that we just have random sheep out here now. That's very, very cool. And that was such a good idea, especially in the park. It'd probably be really annoying for anyone living in here because they're just going to have the smell of sheep and the sound of sheep. But I really like that as an idea. I also kind of like the idea of giving the mayor's manor just a couple of sheep as well, because this, if I can get like one sheep in that garden, that would be kind of perfect. Because let me tell you, when I was talking earlier about when I was quite young. There we go. When I was considerably younger than I am now, I don't remember exactly what age I was, but I want to say like just a child. When I was very, very young, we used to go quite regularly to my family's hometown. And on the way there, we would pass by this house that always had a goat in the front yard. And it was a goat that was on like not a chain, but like a leash. It was a big long leash so it could go all around the yard. And rumor has it, these people never cut their lawn because they just had the goat eat it. And for the longest time as a kid, I wanted a goat. Now, I never got a goat, but I do have 3 sheep in town to city, so that's good enough for me. Speaking of my house, though, what exactly do we have here? Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to do 2 of the voices. All right. What do I go for? Here, our little boy doesn't want to play outside. Where did we go wrong as parents? That's a bad Northern Irish accent, which, by the way, just in case you're new around here, I am from there. I just don't sound like I'm from there because I've messed up my voice after decades on the internet. And now I've got to the point that I can't really do much of a convincing Northern Irish accent, so that's fun. You would not believe the amount of times that I'll go somewhere, like I'll be getting my hair cut, and someone's like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, just up the road. And they're like, you're not. And yep, every single time. Anyway, now, dear, I'm sure the mayor can help us. He never runs around or climbs trees or jumps in the lake or fights or gets dirty. All he does is read books, play with his pet rock. A silly rock he found somewhere. The 2 are inseparable. I don't know what to do anymore. Calm down. I'm sure our boy will appreciate... I don't know what this voice is either. I'm sure our boy will learn to appreciate playing outside. Mayor, could you build a play area with a slide for him near the house? Here, I just want to play with my rock. Okay, that's fine. Wait, we have a play area. Hold on a minute. Wait, they want trees and they want fences. Of course they do. Can I move this to like here? And we need hopscotch as well. Really? Oh man. What if I move this to here? That technically counts. That's good. Okay. Right. Yes. It's not working. My son won't so much as look at the slide you built. I won't deny that's a setback. Anyway, thank you for your help, Mayor. Still, that rock, he's obsessed with it. They just gave us money? When do I start unlocking things? I'm doing all these requests and I'm not getting things. I'm just getting money, and we're capped on money right now. We're making nearly 7,000 per day. And that's, yeah, we don't need money. We do need houses though. So I suppose now would be as good a time as any to come in here and start building some more houses along this little road back here, which was sort of the plan. So let's just go for, let's see, what have we done here? We have a red house, we have white, we have red. Let's start with the peachy one, because I think that's going to be fair enough for this space. And I think we'll go for, do I want to set them back a little bit? We could set these back and give them not huge front yards, but a little bit of space in front of them wouldn't hurt anybody. And you know, I kind of like how these have turned out. I think the little front gardens is actually really, really nice. Now this space back here, I'm not really too sure what to do with. I think it is just going to be sort of a wild looking area, and I'm kind of okay with that. I think we're also going to just increase the size of those 2 middle houses, maybe even that one as well, because it does give us that sort of step up across the board there, and that's going to be a great boost to our population as well. So that's kind of fantastic news. What we can do is maybe a little cypress tree just in this corner, so we have some nature in this space. I think maybe a little one of these guys just in that space as well. And then down here, we can go for something a little bit taller, just again to bring some nature in here, and maybe even a large tree just in this corner, because we are getting towards the edge of the map, and so that's going to start to bring the forest that we build across here, which we might build across here. We could build some houses along that road, which would absolutely work, but I think it'll start to bring things together a little bit if we do a forest along that road. Now, what I'd also like to do is make sure that these guys all have lights just above their doors, because that's going to help us to light this little road up once we start putting buildings on the other side of it. I probably should have put a street light in a few more of these spaces, but you know what? It's fine. It's by no means the end of the world. I think what we'll also do, just again to fill this space up, is bring a little bit of a hedge just up to here. We'll sort of merge it with that existing hedge there, so that it all looks like it's part of the one little plant. And then we can kind of just fill this area in here with a bunch of large trees, which will absolutely block some of the windows on these houses. Maybe just one large tree, actually. Maybe then we can do a little pine tree right there, and then the rest of this can probably be a mix of medium and some small trees. So we're not blocking all the light that would get into those houses from the back here, but we are sort of, you know, making sure that it's a little bit more private. You don't have kids staring up into the windows all day, and you don't have people in the windows kind of looking down into the schoolyard, because it's a bit weird. But it's, you know, this is the type of thing you would maybe want to do just to you know, give everyone that little bit of extra privacy that they can get out of the space. We'll do another cypress tree there, and I think that's probably enough. I do like how sort of wild and overgrown this area looks, and I do think we need to bring some color into the space as well. So I'm going to use some red flowers for this house. I'm going to use the purple ones for this house, and then I think I'm just going to use the white ones for the 2 peachy houses, so that we have that nice little mix of color going through there, but we just have the flowers as well. We can, of course, maybe give these guys, I don't know if I want to do a picnic bench up there, but maybe a little table and chairs would be a nice addition. I do love having the little table and chairs just up on these balconies. It is the most adorable thing, and I think it would be so cozy to sort of sit and have your breakfast on a balcony like this, just sort of listening to the world waking up as well. I'm not a morning person by any means, but this game makes me feel like I could be, you know. It's kind of got that vibe where it's like, yeah, I'm not a morning person, but if the world was like this, I think honestly, if the world was like this, we'd all be morning people, right? I think that's kind of just how what Town to City is, basically. It's if the world was this kind of adorable and cozy, I think we'd all be very much morning people. But well, that's fine. We'll give them some extra flowers there just because we can. Maybe give them a little chair just kind of over in this corner. They can sit and use that, just look out at the world. And I want to give you guys just this basic little bench right here, because it does get used if we build this little bench. I think they will come out and sit on it from time to time, which is great news. And I suppose we can also go ahead and open up the train station again and start bringing some people in here to live in these new houses, work in the school, and also to give us some farmers as well. Which reminds me, we should probably get some tomatoes. We can have multiple crops per farm, so I think what we're going to want to do... Oh boy, I don't know where these are going to go. I hadn't really thought about this part of getting farms in here. I guess in here would be a bit of an idea. So let's just take out all of these trees. I know these guys still don't have coverage right now. We are going to work our way around. Either we're going to start working over this way with some markets and shops and things like that, or eventually we're just going to work the entire way around from that artisan district. I'm not really too sure what the plan is just yet, but we'll figure it out. I'm also realizing that if I do this, I'm putting my tomatoes right next to this already very red rose field here. I don't necessarily love the idea of doing that, but I don't know that I'm going to have much of a choice just because I kind of want to use this space. I guess I could do lettuce out here. That would also be a bit of an option. So you know what? I think that's what we're going to do. And I also think we're going to get some decorations in here. Specifically, I want to get the big shed. I think the big shed is a solid pick for the space because it means that we can make it look like there's a little something going on in this new farm without there actually being anything going on in this new farm. So the big shed can be right there. We can do this wooden roof thing sort of right next to it. So again, there's like a little something going on out here without there actually being a farmer's house out here. I think that's pretty good. I would love to get a version of this cart that doesn't have hay on it. I think that would be kind of the coolest thing, but we'll build that guy right there. We'll do some hay bales, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense that we would have hay bales out here. We'll do some hay bales and maybe a little wheelbarrow just sort of next to them. Maybe a nice little green wheelbarrow could be sort of tucked in there because we could do just a regular little barrel, maybe two just sort of there as well. And I think we'll also do maybe a bucket somewhere or maybe a watering can. Yeah, we'll do the watering can. We'll do the little silver watering can just sort of in that corner. I just want to make the space look busy. That's kind of the goal. I want it to look busy. And then I want to draw some roads. Not that we need them. Not that this is necessarily going to lead anywhere, but just a little road through here is going to give us an idea of where people can walk to. And because we've been doing these little paths with all of the farms so far, it just seems like the right thing to do. So I think a little road right about there is going to be pretty good as far as I'm concerned. So right to about there should be fine. And I do like that. I do. The next thing I'd like to do is get a bunch of grass in here. This is all going to end up being covered up, but that's totally fine. I just want to see what I'm working with. I want to get this whole area covered in grass and then put some dirt around these little props that we've placed here. So what we can do is soft dirt. We can get dithering. We can go for a much smaller brush, and we're just going to sort of dot around here to make it look like that is a little working space. We'll do some dithering down this little lane as well. And a lot of that's going to get covered up. A lot of that's going to get covered by plants and crops and whatnot, but that's okay. It is not the end of the world. I think what we can do as well is go in here and start getting our fence. So we're going to come straight down here, and then I think straight down to this road. I don't know how much room we're going to have to play with here. So I think right to there for now should be fine. And I'm wondering, can I just get this to go right up against that shed? It looks like I totally can. I'm going to have to do it in steps as per usual, but that's okay. We can go to about there, and that looks fine. I like it a lot. We'll do the same thing over on this side. So we want to go from here to the cliff, I guess, and we'll just bring this right up against the shed right there. Bring this right up to the cliff right about there. And that gives us a decent little space for some crops. Obviously, we kind of need something along the front here as well, but we can totally make that happen. We'll also bring this back ever so slightly because it's a little bit far forward. Do I want to use hedges or do I want to use fences? I think fences. I think fences are kind of the way to go here. So let's add a node to this fence. Let's curve it around to about, I guess there is fine. It's not going to be perfect, but nothing really is. So that's okay. We can do the same thing over on this side as well, starting at this spot. And we're just going to try our best to get a nice little curve, and we'll try to just sort of push these together. So we kind of have just a single little fence post here. It's obviously not a single little fence post, but I think that looks okay. Oh, and I also want to make sure that we have a little lantern inside of this barn because people will come up here to go into the barn, which is totally fine. I just want it to be sort of lit up at night if they happen to do that. And I suppose what we can do now is go over to this farmhouse. We can edit the farm. We can get ourselves some lettuce, and we'll just sort of fill this space. I kind of have a feeling we might have more lettuce than we have available space here, but that's okay. I can kind of work with that. We don't need a ton of lettuce right now. We're not really going to be using it for anything either. So we'll just sort of bring it around like this. We're kind of tapering it a little bit with the dirt texture that I have on the ground there, so that we're kind of giving ourselves some room to work with around the barn. I think that's kind of important. I think that looks kind of cool. Obviously, I'm outside the lines here a little bit in a few spaces, but that's kind of intentional. We're gonna tidy that up in a second. I think we'll sort of bring this down a little bit here as well. And I think that's okay. I think that sort of works. We really did use a good amount of space there, which is great. We have more sheep available now, I guess is what that means. So, yeah, I can kind of work with that. I like that as a little field. I think it's pretty cool looking. I would kind of like to add some sheep around the place now, is what I would like to do. Now, unfortunately, I can't add sheep to my, my little Christmas park here, which I wish I could, but that's just not an option. Could I add them here? Or like I could add them here, but that seems a little unusual. I mean, they're not goats, right? They're not going to be scaling mountains. I don't know how good sheep are at getting up hills and stuff like that. So what if I put that there? Oh, we do get sheep in that market. Is that too? I think that's a little much though. They're kind of spawning inside that table and I'm not willing to get rid of the table. So I suppose now is as good a time as any to start moving some of these families in here. We do have the farmhouse, of course. We do have these guys that can go into here as well. And you are a little bit unhappy about the state of the granaries that we have. Do we really? Oh boy, that's gonna be it's gonna be fun to deal with, is what that's gonna be. Can I connect you to this farmhouse? I can, but the demand is far too high, which is really frustrating because that does mean that we are going to need yet another granary. Now, thankfully, I did come down here and I did sort of straighten out this little part of this new farm. So technically, we can sort of easily integrate a granary into this space if we really want to. I don't necessarily love the idea of doing this, but I think we're just going to sort of deal with the fact that we have to do this. And I think what we'll do is build the granary, I want to say right there. It is back from the road a little bit, but that's okay. That's kind of intentional. It gives us this space where we could build like a little market or something like that for these guys to be a little bit happier. And I guess we'll just speed things up and see how this goes. We'll see what this ends up looking like. I'm sort of hoping that I can just do a very simple little dirt road that runs right up to the door of this place. So a little something like that should be completely fine. We can get quite a few people working in there, which I'm not against doing. I'm just not going to do right away because I want to do just some grass underneath here. And you know what? I also kind of want to feather all of this out a little bit because we have a lot of really kind of sharp edges and some of those textures. So we'll just sort of do something like this for now. We could probably put some trees back into this space as well, but I would really, really like to try to sort of make this granary look like it's integrated into the space just that little bit more. So let's do, I think, just a stone wall, little regular kind of stone wall here. We can try our best to sort of push it right against the granary there, and we can bring it right down to about here. And that's a decent little start. I think from here, we add another node and bring it down to the little dirt path. And I think over on this side, we kind of do something like this as best we can. I would like to bring this forward though, just to try and hide some of the grass underneath there. And honestly, that's not too bad. I think getting an archway in here would be quite nice as well. Although this one's kind of huge and this one is, honestly, this one's just right. I think this one's kind of perfect. Let's go for right about here. I think we can bring you over just to touch the arch right there. And then you just touch right about there. And I think that's fine. I really do. I actually really like that. I do think a little bit of terrain paint in here just to turn this all into dirt would be good to get rid of all of that grass that we had going on. We can do some dithering and sort of get some different colors into the space just because I think that kind of makes a fair bit of sense. We'll do a little bit of sort of lighter dirt over there. And then just a bunch of farm decorations. So all of this stuff that we have, we can do more of these decorations. We'll do another one of these like shed things there. I think that's fine. We can do one of these little tables, I think with nothing really on it though. I think it can live in that corner. And then just a whole bunch of barrels can kind of go next to this guy. I think that's fair enough. I think a bunch of, maybe just a bucket, a nice little bucket right there is a solid idea, along with some crates kind of down in this space, I think, as well. And there we go. I actually like this a whole lot. I do think it's going to need a little bit of a light above that door. I think that's going to be kind of important. I suppose we could add some extra details around here as well if we really wanted to. There are lights above these silos, which I'll light that up because we can. And I don't think I'm going to do too much else with this. I think that's completely fine as it is. Now, I'm kind of curious to see how many people I can take out of these other granaries, because with this new one, we probably, I mean, we do have a fair few spare people from that granary. If we were to add a bunch of you to this place, what does that do for us? Do we have another worker available? We do. So this is all connected together, which is great. This guy still needs a connection though. So if I was to say, I mean, you're connected to it, which is fine. This place is struggling a little bit. This granary does not have a lot of workers now. So what if, I mean, what are you doing right now? You're connected to those places. That's fine. I'm going to connect you. It's a little bit inefficient, but I'm going to connect you up there is what I'd like to try and do, which it doesn't seem to want to let me do, which is really odd, actually. I can connect it to this one, though, which I suppose is fine. Is that progress? I really have no idea. I mean, the demand here is still pretty substantial. What if I disconnect you from here? So this place no longer has coverage, which is fine. This place is doing good, which is fine. We have 2 extra workers, which we can get rid of out of there. And then this place needs 1, 2, 3 more workers. This place has too many workers. Can I connect you to this farm? I absolutely can. We can do 1, 2, and we don't have any workers available, but that's all right. We're making progress. We're getting all the farms connected together, which is what we want. We do need more people, of course, which we can do. These guys want farm decorations by their house, which I guess, you know what? Let me move you guys out of here is what we can do. We'll put you in this house over here. And you guys wanted farm decorations. You have some nearby, which is great. So that'll keep you nice and happy. We can get 1 more worker into that granary, which is great. So that's up and running. And then you guys can start moving into this house over here, which then gives us more people to work in the school, which admittedly has almost double the demand as opposed to the supply, but that's fine. We can build another school at some point in the not too distant future. And I guess we should start dealing with the fact that some of these little market stalls are struggling ever so slightly. So let's get someone into that stall just to deal with that problem. And let's have a look at what this request over here happens to be. I'm a little bit curious about this one. Oh, is it, wait, weren't we dealing with you two before? Oh God, it is the rock thing again. Oh, I didn't want to have to do these voices. Oh man. Okay. It's time to deal with the rock situation once and for all. I will get my boy to play outside if it's the last thing I do. You're getting too excited again, dear. Mayor, our son is still only playing with his pet rock. Our new plan is to create a whole entertainment plaza for him. Yes. Could you create a square filled with entertainment? If you can spare the time and budget, of course. But, okay. So what do we need, in terms of entertainment for this guy? If I place this here, they want a ball throw stall on the plaza. They want a merry-go-round and a Ferris wheel. They want an entire carnival. Oh, okay. Right. So that is going to be over here at some point. That little quest right there, does that never go away? Hold on. Can I like, oh my God, do I have to look? Oh no, we can hide it. Okay, we're good. Yes, we will deal with the pet rock thing a little bit later on. I guess at the very least, what we can do is go into, wait a minute. I want to get the, oh, do I want to get all of that? Do I want to get cows? I don't think I need it right now. I do want the house style exchange though. That's kind of important to me. I guess we'll get the merry-go-round. I guess we'll get the Ferris wheel. And I do want the funfair fences. Those I think could look really cool, especially if I use them right. And if we look in decorations and we look into fences, we do have the funfair fences. These ones have flags on them. These ones have lights on them. I want to see what these look like. Because here's my thinking. If this actually produces light, and it is getting dark, we can speed things up a little bit. If this actually produces light, this could be a really cool fence to have along the front of this park. And I think it might look better than the fence that we have right there. I don't know if this actually lights up, and I've never really, haven't looked it up, haven't bothered to check, so we'll find out. Let's also build this one, just because I'm curious. I don't mind that, but it doesn't quite look as good. So get rid of you. And they do technically light up, but they don't actually cast any light, which is really unfortunate. They're kind of similar to the Christmas decorations. That's a little disappointing. I'm a little disappointed by that. But that's all right. We can still make that work. Let's get some people into this house. Let's get some people into this house. And let's continue to deal with the fact that people need, well, businesses need workers. So we'll get you into here. We will get someone into this little market stall as well. And we have one more worker available. Nowhere around here needs them. So we're going to come over this way and start to get people into, that butcher needs so many, but we'll go for the clothing store for now. So I've been thinking about these three houses, and it just hit me that I think I did mention that a little market could be kind of cool in here. But what might also be interesting would be something like a bakery. Now, this building is pretty substantial. It's a pretty big building, but I do think it would be kind of cool to try and integrate the bakery and the granary into sort of this one thing, just so that we have all of these kind of farming related buildings over here. So I think a bakery right here, if we can make this work, is going to be really good for us. I think it's also going to be kind of cool that we have, you know, a bakery right next to all these farms, and that we have a third windmill. We're kind of doing, you know, windmills every little district here. But we can also still do a little market thing in here if we really want to, which I kind of do. So I think what we're going to do is just keep things nice and simple with a relatively straightforward dirt road that just goes straight from the entrance of that bakery straight to about there. Although looking at it, it really does look like we should have roads going right up to the side of it, doesn't it? So what if we did some plaza stuff here instead? What if we took out this dirt road for just a moment and we try our best to get rid of only the dirt road in here? So we take out all of you. That's the line tool. That's why that's not behaving all that well. We take out all of you and we just try to turn this into like a plaza space. That might make more sense. I'm going to just freeform this for a second to kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with here. I also don't know what that like little dark patch is right there, but this does look like it should have a plaza. It does have this like step up to it, which I think is a whole thing and kind of really does give it that plaza vibe. We'll bring this kind of straight over here and straight down here, and then take out that extra little bit from just there, because that doesn't look great. We are going to have to fix some of the damage that I'm doing to my existing roads here. So we'll just get that sorted out. There we go. And I guess that's okay. I guess we can sort of turn this into a little market space. I wasn't really planning on having a plaza over here, but maybe it is just a little something that exists in front of the in front of the bakery. Maybe they have a little plaza that they host a market in. I don't really know. Hadn't really thought this far ahead with this idea, and I'm slightly regretting it, but I think I can make this work. I don't know what this is, that little stain right there, but you know what? It's fine. Let's do a little decoration back here just before we get too carried away with this whole thing. We'll do 1, we'll do 2, we'll do 3, and we can sort of straighten all this out so it just looks that little bit better. So it all looks like it's nicely connected to the building. So there and there. And I think that's all right. I think we can work with that. I think a nice pine tree might be too big for in there, actually. I think one of these guys will be also maybe a little bit too big for there, but we're going to do it anyway because we can. Yeah, that should be fine. I don't think the windmill will hit it. So I think we can work with this. And I'm also thinking that we should bring a little bit of a fence or a wall back here and turn this area into another little yard of some sort. So let's do a tall stone wall, a little something like this and this. And we're going to have to spend a minute here just sort of nudging this into the footprint of the bakery so that it actually attaches to the building properly, which is what we want it to do, because we do have a door at the back here that gives us access to the space. And actually doing this, I wonder if we should, instead of pushing it right to the edge of the bakery, should we maybe have a little alleyway down here so that this little yard is accessible technically from outside of the building? And just looking at how this is all going, I kind of like that as an idea. I'm also very tempted to say that actually this should be the smaller of the two walls. I think that would probably make more sense. So we'll do something like this, and then basically just something like this would be my thinking. So yeah, it's accessible from back here. This door is accessible from back here. I think this is okay, and I think this will work. We can also just push you right to about there. We'll try and get that to line up as best we possibly can, which is going to be right about there. And is that a perfectly straight line? Not really, but I think it's as good as it's going to be. And of course, what we can do is go through here with a bunch of grass just to sort of brighten up the space a little bit. We're going to turn that into a bunch of dirt and paths and stuff like that in just a second, but I like to have the base layer, the little canvas right here to work with before we start hitting it with a layer of soft dirt just to make it look like we do have a little path in here. We'll go slightly larger just for the dithering to look a little bit better. And I think that right there is probably fine. I think we could hit it with a little bit of gray grass in just a couple of spots as well. But I think I can work with that. I do. I think that's kind of neat, and I think we can make this look really, really good. And it being nighttime actually works perfectly because I can hopefully get a light above that door, which lights up that space. We can get a little lantern just here to light up that little pathway, which I think is important. And I'm slightly tempted to do a little street light just here because I can, since it lights up that space as well. And I think that's all right. I think that kind of works. This whole area, though, is largely just going to be more farm decorations. We could potentially do another big shed back there if I really wanted to. I don't think I want to, though. That might be a little bit too much. I will do another one of these little covered storage things. I think they're really good for just added detail for an area. They make it look a little bit more farmy, I think is the word I'm going to go for there. That's not a word, but it is now. And there we go. We have this little yard back here. We have a couple of benches as well, so people might be inclined to actually go back there and just sit and relax, which is perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned. I do think this space here is somewhere that I do want to put some plaza decorations. I'm kind of tempted by a well. That feels a little bit more rustic than going in here with something like a fountain. But I will admit that a fountain feels kind of right in this space. It feels like, just given that it's a big old plaza, I do like the idea of having a fountain maybe right there. It's a lot. It feels, it does, I'm not too sure about that. I think I'm going to go for the well. I think the well is the better choice. Oh, by the way, just while we're talking about fountains, there's a handful of people that have been commenting on the videos throughout this series about putting fountains on walls. I've known about this for a while. I've just yet to find a good reason to do this. And you know, I've actually just realized we built a church is what we did. And we could put a little fountain just like on the church, and that might be kind of cool. Because that is a thing you will see, like fountains on churches here and there. So maybe a little fountain just sort of like, is that kind of the middle? Is that the middle? I don't know what the middle happens to be here for this space. We'll do a little fountain just there on the side of the church because we can. That's like the only place I can think of to place that right now. I guess we could also do somewhere on City Hall if we wanted to, but we'll leave it be for now. But yeah, I've known about that for a little bit. I just haven't found an excuse to do it. We'll come up with something though. 100%. There will be a good reason at some stage to put a fountain on a building. Just not quite yet. But I do think the well here makes a bit more sense for the space. I also think we might want to go in and maybe take out a bit of the path around this so it looks like it's kind of up on a curve. A curb is actually the word I was looking for there. But that's fine. We'll do something like that. Does that look okay? It's not quite central, but we can move it so it is a little bit more central on that little chunk of land. And we need to move it sort of to there. And I think that's fine. I think that's about as good as it's going to be. We can do some stone underneath that so it's nicely covered and kind of looks like it's up on a little podium. Maybe even the dark soil would be better. I think I kind of like that. Although I think I kind of prefer the stone. I think that just looks a little bit better. Yeah, we can work with that. Now I do want to come in here and I do want to get a market. So I'm kind of thinking if I could get a poultry stall just like right here, this would just be the best spot for it. Just somewhere like in here somehow, some way. I'm not 100% sure I'm actually going to be able to pull this off, unfortunately. But if I put it there, it is not connected to a path. Can I apply the same little moving thing to buildings? Like, can I just gradually move this down here? Apparently not, which is really unfortunate. I don't know what it's clipping into. Probably the oh, do I need to get rid of the well? Hold on a second. If I get rid of that well and I just put this plaza back in here, are you connected to it? You are. Okay. I think for the sake of having the market in here, we're kind of maybe not going to have a well in the middle of this space. Because I do like the little market stall right there. I really do. I think it's very, very cool. So maybe we do go back for a fountain and maybe we'll go for the slightly darker and the smaller one here. And I think this will be okay. Well, actually, you know what? Does this one kind of work? It kind of does. We're not going to get it. No, it doesn't. I don't know what I'm doing in here. I'm really indecisive about what's going in this space. Unless I do the well just sort of sideways over here, which I guess is also an option. I just need something to fill up the space, really. I guess a statue kind of works. It's a little odd to have out here, but I'm kind of okay with that. I think it's okay. We have a couple of benches as well, which is going to be good for the space. I think maybe another little bench just on this side of the well could be kind of a nice touch, just so we have, again, more seating out here. And there we go. Where are you going? Where? I don't. Okay. Yep, that's fine. You go that way. That's all right then. Oh, now this is interesting. We have another request. I didn't know you could do multiple at a time, but I'm absolutely here for it. Oh boy, we have another conversation. Okay. There is a legend handed down from generation to generation that one... Oh, this is another character. That's a child. That one day, our family will be surrounded by fields of violet. Great acres of lavender, stretching towards the far horizon. Tell us, Mayor, will this legend come to pass today? What do you want? Plant and harvest a lot of lavender. Place a water pump at the farm. Place a scarecrow. Are we growing lavender? We are growing lavender, right? I'm relatively sure we're growing lavender. What are you guys? Are we growing lavender? Hold on a minute. Wait, is that not something I have to research? I do. Yeah. Okay. So no, we don't have lavender right now. Okay. So that's another quest that we're not doing right now. That does give us something to work towards though. Although building another farm wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. We're still kind of struggling with the population thing. So I'm kind of in two minds about whether or not, oh no, I need these to sort of disappear. There we go. We're looking good. That's all gone. We do need to do something about the population. I have added some more job slots over here. So maybe we increase the size of some of these houses. That might be something we have to do just to try and get a few more people in here. Or we could build more houses back here, or we could build some houses along this. I'm really in two minds about what we build along this road. It's so close to the edge of the map that it's kind of, I don't know, I won't be able to put any trees out there, and that kind of bothers me. Although I have just remembered that we do actually have the Townsfolk residences from Bellevue now, which is really, really cool. These guys, I don't know where I would necessarily build these. They're going to sort of give us our own little district, I guess, at some point. We do have the artisan residences from Bellevue as well, which look pretty good. Very excited to play with those, actually. Very, very excited to play with those. But I think what we'll do, just because we do need a few more people, is maybe go ahead and try to get some houses in over here. I don't know how many I could do in this corner. I'm kind of feeling like I might be able to squeeze 2. Maybe. It's a very, very big maybe. But I'm gonna try to get 2 houses in here. And I kind of want to get them to be different colors. I kind of think blue and white could be the option here. We'll start with the white one, just because we can. And I want to put it right against that road on the right side. And right here, these houses are not going to have much of a footprint around them. They're kind of just out of necessity. But right there, and then right next door, I'm hoping, and it looks like I can, just get 1 more, which is absolutely perfect. So it's going to live right there. And again, that is completely out of necessity. We just need a few more people in here. So we'll open up the station. And I guess we can start to fill in some of these spaces with some decorations. Now, behind these houses, I'm kind of thinking we could do a little bit of a hedge that just sort of comes down this way, and then we'll sort of curve it over towards this this road. I think that'll be okay. In fact, can I just do something like this? Might actually be the better choice. Just sort of wrap it around a little bit like that. I don't know if I love that, but I think it's okay. I think we'll just do something like this, and we can pretend that there's maybe back doors on these houses so that they can get out to like a little shared yard area. That's about the best that I think we can do with this. And you know, I think one of these houses can even be upgraded just to make sure that we can get a bunch of people in here. So let's get you guys living in there. We do obviously have more demand for the barber, but what I'd really like to do is come over this way and at the very least get this poultry stall up and running so that these guys stop complaining. That's the main reason for doing all of this. We'll get 1 person into that bakery so that they're that little bit happier. We can get maybe just 1 more person into this warehouse so that they're all relatively happy as well. And I guess we still have 2 available. So let's get 1 person into that barber. And then over this way, we can say maybe 1 more into that bakery as well. We're starting to deal with the population issues. You guys aren't doing anything right now in terms of research. So I'll tell you what, we'll take 2 of you out of there. And can I put you to work anywhere right now? It doesn't look like it. Do we have townsfolk working? We have some townsfolk in the Hatter. So we'll put an artisan in there and move the townsfolk over to the bakery. We have townsfolk in the warehouse, so we'll take you out and move you over to the bakery and then put that artisan in there as well. And that gives us 1 building that is complaining about a lack of workers, which is kind of fantastic progress. Now, I'm not going to take everybody out of the research center because we do still do research, but that is definitely progress, and that makes me very, very happy. Now, one last little thing that I'd like to do today is address this space that we have here by these houses. And I think what I'm going to do with this is maybe just get myself a little bit of a hedge, and I'm going to just try my best to sort of follow the curvature of this cliff. Now, I'm not too sure how well this is necessarily going to go, but I'm hoping that what I can do here, first off, that's just not working at all. So can I just move this in general so that it kind of comes forward a little bit? Can I now add more bits to it? There we go. What I'm hoping to do here is really, really nicely just line this cliff and then put some kind of little park in here. But I want to do a bunch of benches. I mostly want to focus on things like benches. I'm not super concerned with having like a market in this little area or anything like that. It's just going to be benches. It's going to be a nice little seating area. It's going to be cozy. It's going to be relaxed. It's just a nice little space in front of all these houses that I'm really hoping is going to work. I would like to get just a few curves here and there so that we're kind of properly following the shape of the terrain here. I think that's important to making sure this place kind of looks the part. And I'll admit it's a little bit messy here and there, but I think I can work with that. I think we can sort of deal with that. I am considering that maybe having some hedges across the front of this as well would be a bit of an idea. Now, I wasn't necessarily going to do this originally, but I kind of like the idea that we might enclose this just a little bit and that we might have some little dirt paths through here so people do have the option to kind of walk through this little park space if they happen to want to do that, which I wouldn't be against because I do love. That's like my favorite thing with this game is building areas that, I mean, they're largely just for the aesthetic, right? They're largely just to look cool. But if you just add like some benches, people start walking through it. And that's like my favorite thing with Font Brock, especially. And that big sort of market that we have right in the middle of town. I really, really love that. I love that people walk through there. I do. I really love that people just kind of walk through it. Now, what I think we'll do with this place is go right down to a size 1 brush. We'll get a nice kind of wide part here, and we'll do the same thing all the way down here. And I guess somehow, some way, I need to do this in a way that looks kind of good. So let's come through here to start with. We'll do a nice kind of big curve there. We can do something kind of like this that comes up. We can go kind of around this way just a little bit. And this is going to get thinned out. This is not going to be a super wide path for this entire park. It really doesn't need to be. So we'll kind of just bring it here. We'll bring it this way. Again, kind of cutting down through this space. And we just want to go kind of around to about there. And then we can sort of freeform paint in this whole part. And I think that's okay. I think we can work with that. I think we can also kind of bring this around. I think that's all right. And like I said, we can chop into it a little bit, making it just a little bit thinner. I am messing up some of my existing path right there, which I don't necessarily love doing, but we can tidy that up in just a moment. And there we go. We have this path in here. I think what we're going to do now is go through with a bunch of chairs. I think having these be the first thing we do is going to be most important. And I think we'll go for right about here. So we're kind of looking out. Oh, that view is beautiful. I mean, yes, you're looking straight into someone's most likely bedroom window, but if you look past that, the view is kind of spectacular. So we'll get another little bench right there. We'll get another little bench right here, and we'll do another little bench, I want to say right about there. And again, the view from this one in particular is very, very good. I love this space. I really, really do. We'll do one of those little stone basins in here as well. I do like to think that these are bird baths. I know that they're not, but I think a little stone basin right there is kind of a nice touch. I think that'll come together really nicely. And I think we'll do some little street lights as well, just by the entrances. At the very least by the entrances. We'll probably have a couple more in here. In fact, maybe that's something we do as well. Before we've done any trees, we can do street lights just behind, maybe not behind this one, because it's a little bit more central. I don't want to do a street light right there, but behind all of these benches, we can do some street lights. This one, maybe not. We'll do this one by the entrance as well, just because I think that makes the most sense. And I think that's all right. That'll give us a bit of light in here, which I can certainly work with. I really like this. I really, really do. I think it's going to look fantastic. And I think we're going to work backwards from how I usually do this stuff. Usually it's trees and then bushes. I think this time we'll do the bushes first, just because we can kind of get a little bit more color in here right off the rip, which I think is only going to be a good thing. I'm not really too sure what we're going to do in terms of colors just yet, but we will certainly figure it out. So I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that I decided to go with the purple flowers right in here, but I'm a little surprised that we already have someone going through here towards our new benches. I love this. I really do. I really, really love how this space looks. I think it looks so good and really, really cozy, and that's just what I want it to be. I just want it to be this beautiful little cozy space that people can kind of go and do that right there. Just sit on a bench and look out over the rest of Fontbrock. That is kind of perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Now, I think we'll stick with some small trees for most of this space. I think that probably makes the most sense. Although, I'm looking at this area and almost tempted to say that we go for a large tree just because we could. I do kind of like that as a bit of contrast. I really, really do. And I'm also thinking that we might want to take a slightly less is more kind of approach to a lot of what we're doing here. Now, I do want a tree right there. I don't want to block this guy's view, but just a tree right there I think is good. I think a little tree just here as well. I do think the cypress trees are going to be perfect for like this side of the path for a lot of these spaces, but it kind of looks like we're getting a nice little mix of trees in here, I suppose. That's a little bit narrow looking, but I can kind of work with that. And I think we'll also just throw a couple more of these bushes in here. We'll do one of these smaller bushes just here and here as well. We can do a couple of the smaller bushes just up this way as well, so that it really starts to not look overgrown, but it's very natural looking, that space. And I do think that that's probably enough for that little space. We'll likely end up doing something similar down here as well. I don't think there's too many buildings that'll fit in that area, although maybe we might squeeze a little house in there. Probably not one of those. Well, actually, maybe one of those ones. I don't know. We could definitely get a house in here if we wanted to, but I love that this little space has been filled up. I love that people are using the benches and kind of walking through there. It's very, very cozy, and that is what I wanted it to be. So I'm so pleased with that. And you know what? Just because I'm curious, I want to see what this request happens to be right here. So, what is where my darling loves honey and wax candles. So I put up some beehives in our farm. Except I'm wildly fearful of their stings. Maybe you should stick to wheat or grapes? No. What I need is a farm dog to herd the bees while I extract the honeycombs. Don't question how this works, it simply will. Okay, so first off, we get a farm sign. Love that. I love that it took us this entire time to unlock an item. That's cool. So you guys want the farm sign. Can I just place it like here, I guess, is fine for the sign. So there's your sign. That'll keep you happy. They want additional flowers around the farm. That's okay. Sure, we can do that. They want a dog house, and we want to assign a dog to your family as well. Okay. This I can do. This I can absolutely do. You guys are getting a dog, so that'll be that sorted out. You're going to need a dog house, which is going to live, I guess, at the back here. It seems like a fair little spot for the dog house. We'll just put it right about there is totally fine. And you need a bunch more flowers. Now this, like I said, thankfully I can do. You guys have white flowers there, so we'll do a couple more in that window. I don't necessarily want to do the yellow. I think we'll stick with the white ones just there. So that's 9. That's going to be 10. I don't love that I'm going to have to place so many of these around here, unless I could sort of do them hanging from up there. That would certainly be an option. And across there as well. That's kind of an option too. Okay. We might be able to pull this off. You know, I realize I can just place a bunch of flowers in here and I don't have to keep them if I don't really want to, which I'll be honest, I don't really want to, but I might, just because it does feel a little bit cheap to kind of undo a challenge once it's done. We do need just 3 more, so we'll do 1, we'll do 2, we'll do 3. and that should keep you nice and happy, which is fantastic news. Well, I've extracted all the honey without a scratch. The dog got stung 18 times, though. Good thing she's tough, unlike me. Okay, so we got some money for that one as well. That's not bad. I am going to go in and get rid of these flowers, though, because it just seems a little bit unnecessary to have them in a bunch of these spaces. It just seems a little bit odd. So we'll take those out. I think that's all of them. I'd like to get rid of these ones too, because they look a little bit silly up there on the walls. And yeah, that seems fine. That's at least, I mean, look, we did that. That's good. We are going to have to like make sure to hide that every time we do this though, which is going to be really annoying. And we have to hide Lavender Legend every time we do a request, but we did some requests. We've done some things. We're making some progress. This is good. We're doing good things. And so I suppose that is going to do us for today. We got the schoolhouse built. We've done some of the requests in Font Brock. We have unlocked the top tier farming stuff, and there's just so much more for us to still do in here. We have to build that carnival. We have more requests on top of the requests that we've done. There's so much still to do, and I'm so excited to get around to it. I hope you are as well. But that is going to do us for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. This has been an absolute pleasure, as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.